Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and arrive at episode 561, where you're having a giraffe. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I thought I might try to do an accent and then gave up.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Keith.
We broke Glenn.
You're going to have to do it again.
No, let's leave it. We don't get that kind of reaction that opens very often.
All right, I'm Glenn.
Could be one of those kinds of shows, folks. If you're driving, you might want to pull over.
Oh, how's everybody doing? Anybody do anything fun this week?
We had a little family movie night on the long weekend. We watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem in 2 sittings, but...
And how was it?
It was pretty good.
Both sittings?
Both sittings. They paid more attention probably once we actually watched the second half of it than Liam got restless on the first half, but he paid attention to the second half pretty good. The kids liked the movie a lot. I thought it was good. It was kind of a standard Ninja Turtle movie, but it was nice to have something at least different as far as the villain goes, and kind of a not necessarily a different origin, but a slightly different. I mean, actually, no, it's not that different. The style of the animation was enough to make it feel different and fresh take on the story.
Because as I understand it, just from the little pieces I've seen, it's kind of sort of similar to Spider-Verse, yes?
It's kind of. Yeah. It's that sketchy style, but I think it kind of leans a little more into the CGI look to it than Spider-Verse does. I think I've always thought Spider-Verse looked a lot more hand-drawn, but there's elements of both to it. It's the next wave of that new style of animation for sure.
Yeah.
Melding the two together. And it had some good humor. The turtles were actually kind of teenager-esque and acted kind of like teenagers, and so I thought it was kind of nice to have that, because we don't get that very often as far as the Ninja Turtles go. They always seem to act like they're in college or later than that even.
Well, I heard a lot of the camaraderie that they get between the kids, because they're, well, number one, they're actually teens they got voice for it, but also the camaraderie is really good because they had them all record in the same room together. So they said that energy was passed between each one of them, and so I think they said that helped.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and it comes across on screen. And April, I thought, there were some nice modifications to her in the fact that she's in high school too. Yeah. She's a teenager. She's not some, already a reporter learning about this. She's kind of an aspiring reporter. So that's kind of a nice change of approach to it all. And the villain, I think, makes it a little bit more refreshing too. It's not the same old villain every single time. Of course, they tease Shredder for the sequel, so, that's coming. What about you guys?
We also did a movie night. I introduced Shy to Star Wars: The Force Awakens as part of our Disney prep, figuring that, she's going to be writing Rise of the Resistance. That's the one to show her. And I have tried unsuccessfully twice before to get Shy to watch any Star Wars. And with the movies, she just could not care. It is not something she enjoys. She enjoyed what we watched of Clone Wars and Rebels, but primarily only the episodes with Ahsoka. She's not tried the TV show Ahsoka yet, but she's, just not into the movie. So I thought, well, we'll try with this. And she kind of sort of barely tolerated it. And then Han Solo came running up into the Millennium Falcon, and she brightened and went, Indiana Jones! So I can't be too hard on myself. I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But that took an interesting conversation to try and explain, because she was like, why is Indy here? And he doesn't do space. Well, he's an actor. He's doing. No, that's Indiana Jones. He's not an actor. I was okay. You know more than I do. And then again, she kind of tuned out for a bit until Kylo Ren took his helmet off. Then she was glued. So I think she may have a little thing for Adam Driver.
She's got her first crush.
Oh yeah, but it kind of went okay. Glenn,
I got a chance to watch Doctor on Display. This is the second or the most recent Blackpool release. It's actually called Doctor on Display Blackpool 2004 to 2008. It's actually going to be my something new 2-minute review. And this is another one of the real-time videos that they've been doing as kind of a behind the scenes. The first exhibition had closed in 1985. And so 10 years later, David Boyle, who he in 1995, David Boyle, he founded the Doctor Who Experience. And I apologize to my UK listeners. I will butcher this name, but in Llangollen, I believe, Wales. And then it ended up getting closed in 2003. Well, if you don't know where that is, it's actually right next to the Daypole factory, which originally I think was a toy train company, but they also got licensed for Doctor Who merchandise in the 1990s. So they were actually making merchandise in the UK in the 1990s. Anyway, he decided that he was going to move the event back to Blackpool, and he got the BBC's blessing, basically, because he already had all the stuff. He got a spot, and they put it back in Blackpool, and it actually ran in Blackpool from 2004 to 2008, as the title says. I think David Tennant came in and presented one day. This was right on just as the show was coming back, obviously. And so they had a lot of classic stuff. They didn't get a lot of new stuff, but I guess this thing was insane, and people were showing up by the droves, and of course, BBC kind of decided, well, maybe there's something here, and they decided to take all their stuff back. So he ended up having to close it in 2008. But it's a really great documentary. I think, unlike the first one, they actually talk more about the exhibit itself and not so much about Blackpool, which is what I didn't like about the first one. But I think it came down to the fact that they had a lot more video this time, probably because it was more recent, so they had more stuff. But it's a really great documentary. Again, you can get it from Reeltime Pictures. They do have a download version, which is how I got mine, but it is on DVD, and I recommend anybody that can get their hands on it and wants a little look back at how Doctor Who was presented to the public in Blackpool. Take a look. And that's my something new 2-minute review.
Hi, I'm Rupert Booth.
I am known as Paul Ferry.
And my name is Barry Williams.
Together, we host Time Ram.
Time Ram's a cruel mistress.
It's a random number generator.
That also.
We roll a number from 1 to 13, and that's our Doctor. Then 1 to 300 for the story, and then we ram them together.
Even if it doesn't make sense.
Cruel, I tell you.
Time Ram, putting the wrong Doctors in the wrong stories, so you don't have to.
You're listening to Travelling the Vortex.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
Let's move on to our reviews. We are once again reviewing Once and Future, which is the Big Finish 60th anniversary fair. And this time we are joining a, degenerated into the Sixth Doctor, and Colin Baker is performing this time.
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, Once and Future, Two's Company.
Degenerating?
I'm fluctuating between incarnations in no discernible order.
Blimey, size of this place, like a mansion.
That sound. You must recognise it.
Harry, who do you answer to?
To you, Doctor. A future you.
I'm looking for Lady Christina de Souza.
Stay right where you are and put your hands on your head.
Oh, behave. Is your mum in?
The place is booby-trapped. Excellent. I love a challenge.
Ah, you don't improve with age, Sullivan.
Doctor.
What is that?
Motorbike. Helmet?
No.
Sorry about your curls, Goldilocks.
A sidecar?
You're having a giraffe.
A degenerative weapon, I wonder.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
Back on Earth, the Doctor finds a clue in the search for the origins of the degeneration weapon. In his sixth body, he meets Jackie Tyler and Lady Christina de Souza, thrown together by fate or something more, in pursuit of a powerful item of jewelry. Meanwhile, a Time Lord renegade has duped Harry Sullivan into helping him stop the Doctor's travels before they begin, and are all set on a collision course.
Bum, bum, bum.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, you want to go first?
I was not expecting the pairing of Jackie Tyler and Lady D'Souza to be at all complimentary. This is oil and vinegar, oil and water. I don't know. This is some terrible combination that would not work. And I enjoyed listening to the two of them so much that chemistry overrode any problems that I could probably come up with regarding the actual plot of this thing. Mixing in the Sixth Doctor.
Well, the chemistry between the Sixth Doctor and Jackie was
that's
also just as enjoyable and so much fun to listen to.
Again, on paper, there's no way this is going to work. Somebody with a very devilish grin went, well, what if we did this? And everybody went, ha. No, man, we're not going to do that. But then they did it, and it worked so well. And then Harry, the chemistry between the Sixth Doctor and Harry, where I was a little pleased to see how much the Sixth Doctor had softened on Harry over the years.
Yeah.
Because if any of the Doctors was going to bluster and, yell, Harry Sullivan is an idiot, I fully expected it to be the Sixth Doctor. But he just kind of, oh, you poor dear man. Yeah, it's a set that this is a story that shouldn't work. It just should not work, but it does, and it does wonderfully.
Yeah, it's such an eclectic cast, and I completely echo what you said. I think that I thought that the Doctor and Jackie would come to more of a loggerhead than they did too, and that they would be very combative and very, very much back and forth, but they really aren't. There's a little bit of that resistance by both, especially from Jackie's point of view, because, where's Rose? What's going on? And so that I expected to be a little more combative, and it wasn't. And it was actually kind of refreshing that it wasn't, because, I think it worked so much better. I agree with you with Jackie and Lady Christina. I think that what I like about Lady Christina, and I've always liked about the character, is that she is this high society woman with the title, but she's not snobbish. She's very down to earth. She's very could be your buddy and go out for a drink with them. And I think what I like too is that Jackie's going to get this job that I'm assuming it must have been River that gave her that nudged her in that direction, right? They never actually say it, but it's very much telegraphed. But anyway,
and they pretty much confirm it in the behind the scenes too.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. And then so she goes, and I think she has these expectations of what Lady Christina's going to be like based on where she lives, and she goes there, and they just get along really well, and I absolutely loved that. And in fact, when there's that moment where she's got the jewel, and Lady Christina's trying to ask about the jewel. And Jackie almost gets a little, defensive, like, well, I didn't steal it. She immediately thinks, and I think anybody else in that position may have, been snobbish enough to think that she, accuse her of thieving that from the house. But Lady Christina's not that. She recognizes that what she wants to know is, well, where did you get it? Because it's such a rare object and it's not even from here. And so I liked that. And again, I'm going to just echo what you said again about Harry and the Doctor. I really expected Colin Baker's Doctor to be even more disparaging and degrading of Harry, and he's not. He's actually he has
borderline abusive.
Yeah, he has softened. He has softened a lot, and it's almost like he feels more sorry about the imbecile than he does, frustrated with him as the Fourth Doctor did quite often. But yeah, it's really good. I think one of the things that I got a little lost on was I thought they were going a different direction, because when they were in the house, in Lady Christine's house, and Jackie was in one wing of the house and she was cleaning and she heard the voices, I thought there was going to be more to that. I thought there was going to be more of a reason for those voices. I think they were implying that the voices were manifesting from the jewelry, right? Is that, or did they just leave that hanging?
Well, I think they pretty much confirmed it, that it was glimpses of the future or the past through the jewel.
Right. And she thought it was the dolls that were talking or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the Doctor kind of explains it away in a quick one line.
Well, I think that's the problem too. Is
thank goodness they weren't, ventriloquist dolls. Because...
I think that's the issue that I have with it too, is that wasn't addressed more forwardly, and maybe I'm just too daft to figure that out. But I think I got there eventually, but I was a little taken aback because I thought they were going to go somewhere with that, and they didn't go. They didn't go anywhere with it. It just needed to be that piece that Harry needed to come by in order for, we haven't even talked about the two, which now we're in an early incarnation of the two.
The earliest that we've found.
That we've found so far, yeah. And what a great performance. And I love the fact that we're bouncing through this character's timeline, this Time Lord's timeline, because while we're not doing it linearly, which can sometimes be frustrating, this really kind of makes it a little more interesting, because you're learning little bits and pieces about the past lives that he's had or they've had in many instances. And I think that's really, I'm enjoying learning about the two in it, or this Time Lord in general, out of order. And I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, and it's, from what I understand too, it's even not just us for Big Finish, it's kind of the earliest incarnation they've put on audio.
Yeah.
Other than, the additional voices in the head. So it's nice that we get of this kind of adversary to the Doctor and why they are out to get the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, it's really well crafted and really well performed.
Yeah.
And just hand waving enough of a situation that you're like, okay, I'll buy it.
Right. It's very much in line with Harry to have fallen for the two being in another incarnation of the Doctor. And to give him some credit, I mean, he does know Time Lord physiology. It is not.
I don't think
it's not too far out there that would happen. I think though that the mannerisms of the Doctor and some of the thing or of the two, but disguised as the Doctor, those mannerisms, I think Harry should have caught on to a little sooner that something wasn't quite right. And he kind of does later in this story. And especially when he meets the Doctor and he's trying to explain, well, this is a different incarnation of you. So, you know, I kind of wish Harry had caught on a little sooner, because I don't think we don't give Harry enough credit. I think he's a smart person. He does some bumbling kind of things. And so I wish they'd have given him a little more credit in this story as well. But I'm not bothered that much by it.
Well, and the way they present it, I can fully understand why Harry would believe that. I mean, the two straight up was lying that, yes, I'm the Doctor, I have lost my TARDIS, and I have this disease that's causing me to have this additional voice in my head. I mean, he laid it out basically of, here's my entire lie, and why would Harry believe otherwise? Because it's another Time Lord. And it's just the fact that Harry is trusting makes it seem like he's a bumbling idiot. He just believed it was his friend, and he wanted to help his friend, so he started helping. I mean, that's what he does. That's why one of the reasons why he's such a great character is he is trusting, and he does want to help all of his friends and do whatever he can to try to make the situation better.
Exactly, and he's so earnest about it. And I think there's a fine line to walk between, you know, Mickey the idiot versus Harry, who is portrayed as kind of a bumbling idiot, and he's not. He's a medical doctor. He's not dumb at all. He's just so far out of his depth with meeting the Doctor and going on these adventures in space and time and doing all this kind of stuff. So the fact that he has been spun this yarn, oh, I've lost my TARDIS, I've got this. This is not even the most outlandish thing that Harry would have heard from the Doctor today.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
This is just,
and considering how much the fourth Doctor berated him, I mean, this two's behavior isn't that far out of the realm of possibility.
And Harry's probably a little cowtoed at this point, going, okay, you know, we'll do the
right.
We'll do the thing. And so I think that Six's reaction to him, while I expected to be much more severe, I'm so glad it wasn't, because it's almost like there's a moment of introspection and reflection there on the Doctor's part to go, yeah, I was kind of mean to you, and I can see why you believed this guy, and so I'm not going to fly off the handle about this. We're just gonna, because, you know, oh, you mustn't tell the other me about me. Well, yeah, okay. I mean, that sounds completely reasonable, dealing with time lords.
Yeah, and time travel, and
you know, you'll destroy the universe as we know it. Okay, I won't say anything. I mean, I'd buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame Harry at all. So,
well, and the fact that Harry and Unit is aware of the Time War, and so they want to try to, you know, tiptoe around that also. It makes sense.
Right. That's true, because he is still working in the capacity unit, and you're right. They were trying to get as much information about the Time Lord as they could.
Good story.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You were invited on an adventure across all of time and space, in a completely random order. It's the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. Jump in the TARDIS with your hosts,
Eric Gulbranson,
Asad Kheshki,
and
Matthew Kressel.
Explore Doctor Who TV stories, audio adventures, and books, both novels and non-fiction. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. It's the entire Whoniverse on shuffle. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a member of the Direction Point Network and is available about once a month wherever you find your podcasts. You are listening to Traveling the Vortex.
This is Tim Trelaw.
This is David J. Howe.
I'm Peter Purvis.
I am Sadie Miller.
This is Lauren Cornelius.
Larry, it's Fraser.
For all things in the Doctor Who collecting world and beyond, the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. I'm Larry Van Mersbergen, your host, and I've been collecting for 42 years. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex on the Direction Point Podcast Network.
Of course, we are still following Doom's story as we progress through her day. And we come to our next review, which is 4 from Doomsday, which is a BBC audio comprised of 4 stories, which I believe are all written by the same person. Keith, do you have a synopsis for these?
Yes, but my page is reloading. Give me a second. I don't know why. I had it open. It was fine.
Darn technology.
Darn Chrome. Hired assassin Doom is on a mission to save her own life before death catches up with her. But if she can find the doctor, they might be able to help her. But where in space and time are they? These 4 missions, the Steel Cascade, the Martian Dilemma, and Ood Halloween, and Dark Space take Doom on a Mediterranean cruise in 1966, the planet Mars in the distant past, San Francisco in 1999, and finally a desolate planet in a dying solar system. Along the way, she meets TARDIS travelers Ian and Barbara, the mighty ice warriors, and Brian the Ood. But when a mysterious stranger with silver hair and sunglasses turn up, will he be the Doom's salvation?
Bum.
I'm kind of middling on this one. I don't think any story was bad, but I'm not sure that I thought any story was great either. But Keith, you want to go first this time? Let's take them one at a time, obviously, and we'll start with, what is it, Steel Cascade?
Yeah, they just didn't do individual synopses.
Yeah.
Because really they deserve their own synopses because they are each standalone stories.
Well,
and the only connection of them is Doom.
That was my first disappointment about this. Is we complained about this last time, was the fact that the stories interweaved so well in the book, and then we go back to this format of just one story at a time.
When they easily could have interconnected them all, since they were all written by the same person too. That's what's frustrating about it. But the Steel Cascade, I thought, was a really fun, enjoyable story. You know, we getting Ian and Barbara back on Earth, traveling the world, not wanting to sit still anymore, which I think is a great statement on their characters and makes sense. A nice kind of return to them. And the fact that, you know, Doom, it's a bit of a coincidence that Doom scrambles into them, other than, I guess, I can kind of explain away the fact of she's trying to latch on to any sort of time travel, and they would have time travel Artron energy on them. That's kind of the only what they seem to be fast and loose with why she chooses the missions she chooses. But that's, I guess, neither here nor there, because they really don't have I don't think probably a strong enough overall editing hand on what's going on. But as far as the Steel Cascade, I thought it was very, very nice revisiting it with Ian and Barbara. Doom getting to kind of catch up and hear about all their adventures with the Doctor, I thought was nice. And then the overall mystery and plots was okay. An assassination that goes wrong and isn't quite what she thinks. And Ian and Barbara kind of help save the day. And not bad.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that this is the closest, though, I think she's gotten to the first Doctor tangentially.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, she's one command, a companion or two removed, but I think that's I'm with you. I'm wondering why, because Terry's just giving her these assignments. I mean, she gets to pick from them. She gets a scroll of assignments that Terry puts out there, and she's choosing the ones that she wants for the most part. But I don't think they've done a good job explaining how she does, just out of dumb luck, end up, meeting with Joe Grant and meeting up with Barbara and Ian and Barbara and Ian. And that's one of the things that has bothered me all along about this, is there's no rhyme or reason why she's encountering.
A lot of coincidence.
Right, exactly. And so I think if maybe they explain that, even with just a kind of a wave of the hand or a dropped line somewhere, I'll be better with it. But I thought this story's kind of just fun. It's a fun kind of James Bondy adventure. At least it tries to be kind of it's almost a Woody Allen James Bond movie, but it's got all the trappings of it. I didn't expect when we find out what the object or the thing that's in the vial when she throws it on the ground, and then when Barbara asked her, why did you do that? And she said, well, I expected a bang. She thought it was going to blow up. She didn't know it was going to spill out and start eating all the metal and everything in its sight. But I was kind of okay with that. I thought it was a little bit of a fun moment there. I liked that they get separated from Ian and she goes with Doom and they get to kind of do the heroic thing, and their escape, having to go out through the water that's already flooding in, I thought was pretty exciting. It was pretty intense. So overall, I enjoyed this story. It's just kind of middle of the road. There wasn't anything super exciting about it. It was nice to, revisit Ian and Barbara again. And it was nice to hear the characters somewhat in Suze Kempner's voice now. This is our first, with the exception of the little interlude she's doing in between and the trailer. This is really, we're getting Doom in her voice, and I think it's settling in a little better for me. And so I think that this story didn't really subvert anything that has come before as far as the character goes, And so I was kind of glad for that, because I was afraid once we heard Susan the part, and again, she's still narrating. She's not necessarily, next week, but next review that we do of Doomsday, we're actually going to get a full-on acting role from her. But I think I think it works for me. And now hearing Doom in her voice, I think, even though for some reason there's two other people reading other stories on these set, which I don't understand. I mean,
Silas Carson one makes it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, it was a fun story. I didn't have any problem with it. Sean?
I think you're missing the point. Both of you. Story one is great. And it's great because not only do we get Ian and Barbara post their travels with the First Doctor, not only do we get Ian and Barbara restless and still having that sense of adventure and traveling the world, we get Ian and Barbara together.
Further confirmation.
Like as a legit couple sharing a stateroom. So that's worth the price of admission right there. Because for those of us that ship Ian and Barbara, this is like, yeah, told you. This was a long time coming. But I love the fact that they are Ian and Barbara. They are very much portrayed and feel like the Ian and Barbara that we know and remember. And Kempner's narration of them is fairly spot on. I mean, it's not an impersonation. It's not a sound alike or anything, but just the inflections are there. And Ian was, kind of crotchety, but yet sounded like Ian.
I would love Suze Kemper to be Barbara in audios here going forward, because I thought she had her down perfect.
Yeah, she really had Barbara. And I love the fact that we take the fairly standard trope of, the woman's going to fall down and nearly be eaten by the monster, because that's what happens in all the horror movies. But this time it's Ian who trips and, I've sprained my ankle. Barbara's like, well, I'll go and do the thing. No, you won't. Yes, I will. Go get a light. I was not expecting as big of a finale for
that's true.
A story that's dealing with just a couple of, assassination attempts and a Russian agent, and, okay, it's going to be a little thing on a boat and we're going to have a body together. No, we're going to destroy the entire boat. We're going to have to go down into the bowels of the ship and blow a hole in it and then swim out from you want to talk James Bond? This is James Bond. I mean, it was just like, wow. I was totally taken aback by just the scope of this story, let alone these little, nanobot things. Oh, the Steel Cascade. What a clever name.
That is a clever name.
It's not a Russian spy. It's this thing. I bought into it. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm on board. So maybe I'm easy to please, but I really, really, really liked this one.
As far as the relation thing, I tend to forget that you guys haven't read other media. There's other media that have put Barbara and Ian together, and I, for some reason, I thought we did Hunters of the Burning Stone, which is an 11th Doctor comic, but I must have read that on my own. But they actually are wed in that one, so. And then
I remember that one too. I remember several others. I can't name them specifically.
The story that we did with Barbara and Ian, not Barbara, Susan and Ian, where they helped with the synth sphere. That particular one. Yeah. I mean, Ian they were living together, so it was implied that they had a relationship there as well. So I didn't need the confirmation that they were a couple. I've had that for a long time.
As Keith was about to say, that they were. This is young Ian and Barbara. That it's easy for us to have done like the Synsphere one where Ian is significantly older. And okay, yeah, he comes back home, and then Barbara comes home, but we never really get them together. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I know.
So it's nice and easy to imply that they've had this life together, but this is in the thick of it. This is
seeing the life together is a nice.
That was the.
And I suppose that Hunters of the Burning Stone already does that for me. So
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, we talked about it one time, and I thought we had reviewed it, and apparently we haven't. So it was an 11th Doctor comic, so.
I think my frustration with it is more the Doom aspect of it. I agree with Sean with what you said about the Steel Cascade idea being cool and Ian and Barbara. It feels like Doom stumbles into the situation, makes the situation worse, and then comes out on top every time.
Yeah, Doom is not a good assassin.
For being the universe's best assassin, she seems to muck it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know part of that is I can explain part of that away with, she's scrambling because of the deadline over her shoulder, but it's still kind of like, I get the impression that this is how she operates anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rarely that she feels like she's a competent assassin. It always, and it wouldn't make it as interesting of a story either. I get that, of the fact of, if she shows up, knows what she needs to do, and does it, the story won't be as interesting and have as much drama. But I kind of would like that a couple of times to prove that she's a good assassin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so far the only ones that we've really gotten where she feels competent, I think, is the book,
or the novel,
that we just did. Yeah, that one she felt the stakes and the scope were so much larger over the course of those 4 hours. But for all of the trials and tribulations that Doom went through, they felt like trials and tribulations that she was not on her back foot for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That she was thrown into it and dealt with it versus
right.
so much of these other stories. So I agree with that.
Well, let's move on to the Martian Dilemma, which is the next one. Let me start. I actually kind of enjoyed this story, and mostly because there's not a lot to it. It's obvious when we get into it, why, even early on, why she's there. And, well, it's not super early on, but it's, eventually that she has to be the one that is taking out the queen of this, because they've decided that if they don't, then society, isn't going to go the way they want it, which is the more warlike. She's this peace, promoting monarch. And I thought that was kind of a clever way to start. We're so far back in Martian history, and this is pre-warring Ice Warriors, and they don't, even Doom doesn't know that this ever happened. And so it's like one of these unrecorded histories that nobody knows about, and there's a reason why nobody knows about it. I like that it comes down to the conflict between the husband and the wife, and I can't remember the names of these Keelix, and I don't remember who the other one was anyway. But I like the intrigue, and it comes down to realizing that the husband had, or the lover, whoever, was the one that had, hired the assassination on her. And then the way where they go with it from there, I thought was really clever too. So it's a really good story. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. I was a little disappointed in a way that it turned out to be the husband, the consort, just because it feels like that's a very familiar Ice Warrior thing. That it's always the husband or the wife that set him up. And if push came to shove, I think I could probably only think of one other story where that's been a thing. But it feels like we've had a couple of them now, and so that was a little predictable. But beyond that, this was just a fun story. And hey, Ice Warrior's cool. Hey, Proto Mars, cool. Hey, there's just a lot of neat stuff going on in this one. And again, Doom feels like she's relatively competent in this.
Yeah. Just recently, you were thinking about, this wasn't Ice Warriors, but the Rachnos story that we did with the Fifth Doctor was very much the same kind of thing where.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Keith?
I thought it was okay and a little hard to follow in what was truly happening as far as the politics of Mars and the Federation goes, considering this queen and whatever she was behind never came to fruition.
Right.
So it seems a little odd and strange that we would spend all this time for this sort of story. She doesn't assassinate who she's supposed to assassinate and takes off, and it doesn't have an impact on society.
Right.
It felt like it didn't want to commit to anything to me.
That's a good point.
That's fair.
Well, the one thing it does set up, though, is a reason to bring Brian the Ood in for our next story. An Ood Halloween.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this one immensely, but I enjoy Brian the Ood immensely. So.
Well, why don't you go ahead and go first?
At first, okay, we're on Earth. We're in San Francisco. It's 1999. And I jumped. I know what we're doing. It's Halloween. Never mind.
So close.
2 months too soon.
Wrong holiday. But so yeah, I got a little abnormal visceral thrill out of that. But Halloween's cool, and then Brian the Ood shows up and makes everything better. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the reader, the narrator of this part, is the actor who plays Brian.
Yes,
Silas he plays all the Ood.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought so, but just wanted to be sure. I think the only problem per se that I had with this one is
he plays Ood Sigma. He doesn't play all the Ood.
Oh, okay, that's
he
true.
plays Ood Sigma. Yeah.
I think he's played most of the Ood in Big Finish.
Yes,
too.
That is true. Yes, yeah.
I think the only problem that I had with this one is the we're going to drive all the way across town and the monster still beat us here. There were several of those type of, oh, we're on the trail of the thing. Well, we've got to get over here. Well, let's teleport. Oh, he's already here. Well, now we're going to steal his car. Okay. Hey, he's already there. And we've got to get up to that mountainous region outside of with the radio. Okay. Oh, he's already there. Well, what does this guy got? But that's a minor quibble. Is needs of the plot, I guess. Yeah, no, I enjoyed the vibe of it. I liked kind of the almost American Graffiti Wolfman Jack hanging out at the radio station at night bit. This is one that Doom definitely did not feel competent as an assassin, because it's like, well, we've got to kill this monster. Okay, let's stop him from transmitting for help.
Yeah.
No, just kill him. That's the whole.
No, you're right.
And you didn't even do that right. I mean, Brian took out the power grid, and then you had to come up with something else. It's like,
I don't know that she seemed incompetent, but more that she was just on her back footing through the entire story, and that was
definitely overpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea that Brian is there to watch it because she failed her last mission. She's getting a second chance here, but he's going to be there to kind of make sure that she gets this one done. And if she doesn't, then she's his next contract. So I kind of liked that concept, and it kind of gave a reason for him to be there. The other thing that this answered for us was that we know that this is taking place in Brian's timeline after Time Lord Victorious, because they reference the fact that he once wiped out the entire guild, and that would have happened. That was what had happened prior to Time Lord Victorious. So at some point, the guild has been reformed and has new assassins, and this gives us at least a point in Brian's timeline.
Yeah, I like the fact that, he's still with the Order because he gave the new regime their powers, so right. He gets to stick around.
Yeah.
Brian is the reason this story works. Mm-hmm. It's the reason it's as enjoyable as it is, because Doom is on the back foot the whole time, which is frustrating. We do get a little bit of a kind of rationale of why she's picking what she's picking for assassinations, trying to focus on Earth because she knows that's a good chance of where the Doctor might be at some point.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it's nice that, there is a tangentially Doctor-related thing in this one. It's more Lesser Order of Oberon related than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly standard story. I mean, it's a hunt him down and try to kill him and struggle and eventually succeed, thanks to Mr. Ball.
Well, that's the other thing that I think I kind of liked about it, is the fact that Brian's the reason why everything is going at least favorably for them. Every time something happens, he's at least there to kind of make sure that it doesn't go entirely south. But I do like the fact that then when he's incapacitated, it's still him that is the reason why, but she's the one that gets to pull the trigger, by using the ball. So I thought that was kind of cool that after all of that, after being on her back foot, after Brian pretty much doing everything in this story, when he's out, then she uses him, Mr. Ball, in order to take the guy out, take the beast out. So I kind of liked that, how it ended. And then Brian giving her credit for it. So.
And it just kind of goes to show that really Brian's the universe's best assassin.
Exactly.
As he should be.
All right. Then our last story is Deep Space. And Sean has been chomping at the bit to talk about this because this was his favorite one of all of these stories.
No.
This is where it went them.
Yeah, it's not quite Price is Right horn, but we're in game show territory here. So a change of setting, forbidden world, off in the middle of nowhere, everything's dying. Okay, cool. And then the Doctor shows up, and it's very obviously the Doctor, and it's written for us to know that it's the Doctor. But then we spend how long?
A good
cat and
chunk
mousing
of it
around whether or not it's the Doctor.
Yep.
And it's like, if you're going to tell us up front that this is who this is, just do it.
And let Doom realize who it is.
Yeah. There's no reason to keep it a secret.
Well, it's not like she hasn't encountered other incarnations of the Doctor before.
And it's not like it's the incarnation she's looking for either.
Right.
I could see it if it's the incarnation she's looking for. They kind of tease and drag it out a little bit. For this, there's no reason for it.
It's also frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating whenever they do it, but it's also frustrating that of all of the doctors that Doom has run into, at no point in time has she really just said, please tell me where to find so-and-so. You know, they get wrapped up in the adventure, and we've got a bomb that's going to go off, or there's this that's going to happen. I get that there's a time crunch and there's other factors, but it's not that hard to just say, hey, after this is done, I really need some help. just a hint would be, you don't have to break the laws of physics of time. Just tell me where you're going to be at on Tuesday, and I'll go there.
That's a good point, and because they've kind of alluded to the fact that it wasn't in any of these stories, or maybe it was, but maybe it was this one. But anyway, at some point, he has sort of implied that he can't give her the information that she needs because he knows the outcome. And so he knows that she does have to encounter his first incarnation again in order to either fix or come to the realization that there is no fix for this. And so he's been really coy about that, but I kind of agree with you, Sean, that at some point the doctors could say, well, you know where you can find me is, and so although maybe the first doctor knows that she spent 24 hours looking for him, so the doctor has to let that play out. So every time he meets her in another incarnation, he has to wait until she's at least to her 23rd hour before he puts her in the right direction. I don't know.
I suppose that's a possibility. It's just, the cat and mouse is getting very frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. And there's been instances, I think it was even in this one, where he implies that he doesn't fully remember what exactly happened either.
That's where they go with this one, is they make a point that it's now so far in his past that he doesn't remember so much. And I think that's kind of the excuse that this writer decided to go with. I don't think that this writer, although maybe because it had happened before, and the second Doctor, now that I think about it, is the one I think that sort of implied that, although it would have to be a later incarnation that would. Anyway, yeah, I think that's where the writer went with this one, because I think the writer clearly knew that, well, this doctor can't give her the information and has to have an excuse for not being able to give the information. So it's the I don't quite remember you situation.
Right.
Which, okay, it's the 12th Doctor. It's so far in the past for him. That's at least, plausible.
Yeah. It could be after Confession Dial, too, which, is another several million years.
Yeah, that's true. They don't really place this.
Then we get into the, it's a revenge story, and it's psychotropic, or, projections of what could be, and which anytime you do that in an audio format, it's a little
hard to
confusing.
Yeah, agreed.
And okay, we a little lost, but then we caught up. Okay, I'm with you, but it just, I don't know, it wasn't that interesting of a story, I guess, for all of the hoopla to go along with it. And then the fact that it's I don't even know how to say it. It's future revenge.
Yeah, right.
In every possible future that I have foreseen, you have thwarted me. So I lured you here as part of this trap in order to get you out of the way.
Right.
It's a little far-fetched, isn't it? I mean...
well, especially considering that was 2's plan, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The two of you had this thought. Okay. I don't know. I
agree.
Coming off of the other ones, this was a fizzle to end the set with. Yeah. And it was frustrating from the standpoint that this was really the first time where I felt like we were getting Suze Kempner as Doom.
Yeah.
It was her in the first one, but this one felt more like an acting gig than than a narration or something. So this is the one that really should have worked. and yet felt like it was the furthest from
I wonder if
working.
I wonder if that comes across because she's having to try harder to perform here because of how confusing it gets with the I don't know, the projections or whatever, the things that the illusions that they're seeing. And so I wonder if she feels like she has to perform here, and maybe that's why it comes across more of as a performance rather than a reading.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, 3 pretty decent stories, and then this one does fizzle at the end, and so it's kind of a letdown. And unfortunately, it's the last one, and it's actually one with a doctor, and it's one of, a fan favorite doctor, and then they end up not utilizing it very well. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I am looking forward to, I was about to say I'm looking forward to this being over. That's not what I mean. I am looking forward to this.
I'm looking forward to it being over.
I'm looking forward to this coming to a conclusion. I am excited that the Big Finish one is next. I hope that means we end, well, we're not going to end, it's the penultimate part, but I hope that means we're going to go out on a somewhat high note. And then, of course, we turn around and James Goss gives us the wrap-up in the last hour in another short story. So we'll see where they go, but I am excited that now it's Big Finish's turn because, I mean, generally, Big Finish does a good job with everything that they get their hands on. And so I'll be interested to see where they take this story because they get the next, 4 hours, right? That'll be the last ones besides the final hour, which is so they get 4 more. They get 4 hours out of this next batch. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, it definitely will.
True.
We are going on a journey, a very long journey, through the world of the Target novelizations in publication order. Every week, we are looking at a new book, talking about Terrence Dicks, Malcolm Hulke, and all our Doctor Who novelization friends. Whatever you do, keep turning the pages. This is Jason Miller of the Doctor Who Literature Podcast, a member of the Direction Point Podcast Network, and you are listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
All right, well, Sean, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up next on the schedule, I will be on vacation. But the remaining 2/3 of the podcasting will be on as usual, covering the BBC audiobook Teeth of Ice, an 8th Doctor audio original. I like how you schedule 8th Doctor stuff when I'm gone. So kind of you.
Well, you're going to Disney without me, so there. Did we lose Sean?
He went to Disney already.
I guess so. He's checked out.
I don't have to be nice to you. This isn't Disney World.
He was so mad that we scheduled an 8th Doctor story without. He's just got to
Screw you guys. I'm going to Disney World. Followed by The Annihilators, which is the 3rd Doctor Adventures 9 from Big Finish.
The reason we're doing that is because that will be revisiting some season 6B because we get guest appearance in that story by the 2nd Doctor and Jamie.
Which is what was referenced in James Robert McCrimmon.
Right.
The season 6B part 5 tag that you have above this that I didn't read suddenly makes a lot more sense now. And then some more Once in Future for the 60th anniversary tie-in. We'll get Once in Future, The Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50. What a great sci-fi pulp title that is. And then some more Liberation of the Daleks comics with the 14th Doctor. Looking forward to delving back into that with parts 9 through 12. So, much more stuff to come. And as always, of course, the schedule can change at a moment's notice if we get word that, who is coming back on TV. Well, all of this gets paused while we go deal with the new hotness.
Yeah. That we're trying to stay as close to release dates. So if anything changes with any of the stuff we're reviewing in the next few weeks, we'll have to bump stuff out too. But I think we're still on track.
Also true.
All right, well, you can find us at travelingthevortex.com, and if you get any value out of this podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that by clicking on our Patreon link and consider becoming a patron and supporting us there. It really helps keep the lights on. We do have a server fee coming up very, very soon, and we're not quite there yet as far as enough to pay for it. So we need your help. We need you to sign up and help us out, get us over that line, get us over that hump. I won't say how much it is, but we need to get there. We need to reach it. So if you could help us out, even if it's just for 1 month, signing up, giving us, $1 or $2 or $5 or $10, and then, even if you pull out, we don't want you to pull out. We want you to keep paying for the content. But even if you have to pull out, we understand. But and maybe come back every once in a while. But we're trying to give you guys some great content up there on the Patreon site. Hopefully you're enjoying it. And I keep promising a quiz, and it is coming soon. I'm finalizing some of the quiz answers. We've written so many of them now that I'm starting to run out of quiz questions. So, but yeah, please, if you can, please consider supporting us there and spread the word. Get out there and give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast site that you subscribe to, or a podcast aggregator that you subscribe to us on. It helps bump us up in the ratings, recommendations. It gets people listening to us. And then make sure you join in the conversations on our listeners forum on Facebook. You can engage with us on our Facebook page. We're also on X. Odd to say that now. And we are also on TikTok, so you can reach out to us there and follow us there as well. Is there anything else I need to cover before we close this show? Seems like I had one more thing, but well, if you guys don't know, then if that's it for this week, until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing ya. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.